Every second, the equivalent of one full garbage truck of clothing is either burned or buried in a landfill somewhere on this planet. Not every day. Not every hour. Every single second. That means by the time this video ends, roughly 600 truckloads of clothing will have vanished from existence, wasted, discarded, and forgotten. Fast fashion is not just a shopping habit. It is one of the most destructive industrial forces on Earth, and most people have absolutely no idea how bad it has gotten. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to learn exactly how the fast fashion industry works, why it was designed from the very beginning to create waste, and what it is actually doing to the water, air, and soil of this planet. We will look at the numbers that the industry does not want you to see, the countries bearing the heaviest burden of this crisis, and the one uncomfortable truth about sustainable fashion that almost no one is willing to say out loud. By the end, you will never look at a $20 shirt the same way again. To understand why fast fashion is so destructive, you need to understand how it was built. For most of human history, clothing was expensive, durable, and repaired rather than replaced. The average American in the 1960s bought fewer than 25 garments per year. Today, that number sits closer to 68. The shift began in the 1990s when retailers discovered they could dramatically accelerate their supply chains by outsourcing manufacturing to countries with lower wages and fewer environmental regulations. Brands like Zara pioneered what became known as the fast fashion model. Instead of 2 seasons per year, they began releasing new collections every 2 weeks. H&M, Forever 21, and Shine followed and pushed the model even further. Shine today releases between 2,000 and 10,000 new clothing items every single day. That is not a typo. Every single day. The business model depends entirely on 2 things: extremely low prices and extremely short trend cycles. If a shirt costs $8, you do not think twice about throwing it away when it goes out of style. And the industry works very hard to make sure things go out of style quickly. This is not accidental. It is engineered. The faster trends move, the more you buy. The more you buy, the more gets made. The more that gets made, the more gets wasted. And the waste is staggering. The fashion industry is responsible for approximately 10% of annual global carbon emissions. To put that in perspective, that is more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. A single cotton t-shirt requires 2,700 liters of water to produce. That is roughly what one person drinks over 2.5 years. And the industry as a whole consumes 93 billion cubic meters of water annually, contributing to severe water stress in regions already struggling with scarcity. The Aral Sea, once one of the 4 largest lakes in the world, has shrunk by 90% largely due to cotton irrigation. What was once a thriving fishing economy is now a desert scattered with rusting boat skeletons. But here is what nobody talks about: it is not just water and carbon that is the problem. Textile dyeing and treatment is the 2nd largest polluter of clean water in the world, right behind agriculture. Around 20% of global industrial water pollution comes from the treatment and dyeing of fabric. The chemicals used, including azo dyes, formaldehyde, and heavy metals like chromium and arsenic, end up in rivers, soil, and ultimately in the food and drinking water of communities near these factories. In places like Dhaka, Bangladesh, and Guangdong, China, rivers have turned vivid colors: green, red, purple, matching whatever dye is in production that week. The people living near these rivers report extreme rates of skin disease, cancer, and respiratory illness. These are not statistics. These are communities being slowly poisoned so that someone on the other side of the world can buy a dress they will wear twice. Now let us talk about what happens after you stop wearing something. You might feel good about donating your clothes to a charity shop or a clothing bin. But here is the reality of where most of that clothing actually ends up. Only about 15% of donated clothing is ever resold in the country where it was donated. The rest gets bundled and shipped, by the ton, to secondary markets in countries across sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and South America. The largest single destination is Kantamanto Market in Accra, Ghana, which receives approximately 15 million garments every single week. Of those 15 million pieces, an estimated 40% is unsellable, too damaged, too low quality, too synthetic to be repaired or repurposed. That waste ends up on beaches, in waterways, and in massive open dumps on the outskirts of the city. The Atacama Desert in Chile has become another famous dumping ground, with satellite images showing mountains of discarded clothing stretching across the landscape like a colorful, toxic scar on one of the driest places on Earth. And then there is the microplastic crisis, which may be the most insidious part of this entire story. About 60% of all clothing today is made from synthetic fibers, polyester, nylon, acrylic. Every time these garments are washed, they shed tiny plastic fibers called microplastics into the water supply. A single load of laundry can release up to 700,000 microplastic fibers. These particles are so small they pass straight through water treatment facilities. They end up in rivers, oceans, and eventually in the bodies of fish, birds, and humans. Scientists have now found microplastics in human blood, in breast milk, in the placentas of unborn babies. We are literally consuming the synthetic clothing industry. And because synthetic fibers do not biodegrade, they will remain in ecosystems for hundreds of years. What does this all mean for the future? The global fashion industry is expected to double its output by 2030 if current trends continue. That means double the water consumption, double the carbon emissions, double the chemical runoff, and double the microplastic pollution, all within this decade. The economic model rewards speed and volume above everything else. Fast fashion companies spent years successfully lobbying against extended producer responsibility laws, which would require brands to fund the recycling or disposal of the products they sell. In the United States, no such federal law currently exists. The European Union has moved faster, proposing sweeping new regulations that would require garments to be more durable, easier to repair, and recyclable by design. These policies, if fully implemented, could reshape the industry. But industry lobbyists are already pushing back hard. Now here comes the uncomfortable truth that the sustainable fashion conversation almost always skips over. Buying a $150 organic cotton t-shirt from an ethical brand is not the solution. Not because those choices are bad, they are better, but because individual consumption choices alone cannot fix a systemic industrial problem. The fashion industry produces approximately 100 billion garments per year for a global population of 8 billion people. That is 12.5 garments per person per year, just from new production. The infrastructure of overproduction is baked into every level of the global economy, from trade agreements that incentivize cheap manufacturing to algorithms that push trend content to billions of users every single day. You cannot recycle or thrift shop your way out of a production problem. What is required is systemic change, binding legislation, mandatory supply chain transparency, and genuine accountability for the environmental cost of every garment produced and sold. The fast fashion industry has turned clothing, something that once represented craft, identity, and durability, into a disposable commodity. It has offshored the true cost of that transformation onto rivers, deserts, fishing communities, textile workers, and the global climate. The companies profiting from this model are among the most valuable in the world. The communities paying for it are among the most vulnerable. The facts are not hidden. The research is not disputed. What has been missing is the willingness to confront the scale of the problem honestly, without softening it into a feel-good story about switching to linen. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Trend Now Daily for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.